Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the tyrosine kinase signaling pathway or the JAK-STAT pathway. This pathway looks difficult and it seems that it's like a monster, but it's not difficult at all. It's quite simple. You can see here this is a receptor and these are the genus kinase molecules which are lying inside the cell membrane. So what happens, a ligand comes, and in this case the ligand is cytokines, and when this cytokine bind with the receptor, it causes conformational change in this receptor and induces the phosphorylation of these JAK molecules, or genus kinase molecules. What are these molecules? These molecules are actually enzymes. So what happens actually, receptor got bound with ligands such as cytokines, and there was a conformational change in the receptor which promoted the phosphorylation of these genus kinase molecule or JAK molecules, and this JAK molecule in turn promote the phosphorylation of STAT proteins. STAT stand for signal transducer and activator and transcription activators. So what happens, the JAK molecule phosphorylated the STAT molecules, and these phosphorylated STAT molecules dimerize, and a STAT dimer is produced, phosphorylated STAT dimer is produced, and this phosphorylated STAT dimers crosses the nuclear envelope and interacts with DNA and promotes the gene transcription, and as a result gene expression is increased. So it was basically a tyrosine kinase pathway. You can complement this by this leptin receptor. This is leptin receptor which also exerts its effect via tyrosine kinase pathway. So leptin bonds with its receptor, and there is conformational change in this receptor which promotes the phosphorylation of JAK molecules, and in this case the JAK are genus kinase 2 molecules, and these phosphorylated JAK molecules further phosphorylated the receptor domain itself. This is the part of receptor, and it gets phosphorylated by JAK molecules, and then this complex phosphorylates STAT3 proteins, and these phosphorylated STAT3 proteins produce a dimer, and this dimerized form of STAT proteins moves to the nucleus and interacts with the DNA, and the expression of messenger RNA is increased, and there is translation and specific proteins are formed, and these proteins produce specific cellular responses. So it was the JAK-STAT signaling pathway or tyrosine kinase pathway, and this JAK molecule also activates various cellular enzymes via mitogen activated protein kinase pathway and IP3 pathway that are also signaling pathways that are activated by JAK molecules. So it was the JAK-STAT pathway. Basically what happens, ligand binds with the receptor activates JAK molecules are phosphorylated, and they in turn promote the phosphorylation of STAT proteins, and phosphorylated STAT protein produce dimers. These dimers move to the nucleus and interact with the DNA and increase the expression of messenger RNA. There is a translation of messenger RNA, and specific proteins are produced which promotes specific physiological effects. So these are the different hormones which promote their effect via JAK-STAT pathway or tyrosine kinase pathway. It includes fibroblast growth factor, growth hormone, hepatocyte growth factor, insulin-like growth factor, leptin, prolactin, and vascular endothelial derived growth factor. So it was all about today's lecture.